Hey everyone, my name is Clawth, and I'm here today with the first video in our Champion Guide series. Today we're doing LeBlanc the Deceiver, the new caster DPS that was just released last week. For those of you that don't know much about her, she's a really scary caster, really squishy. But I'm going to give you a quick breakdown of all of her skills and a good item build and a good rotation to use that'll hopefully have you destroying people in no time here. Alright, so first up on her attacks, we've got her Q ability, which is Sigil of Silence. Now this is a single target nuke, and it's going to be your go-to spell. It does a lot of damage, and it places a mark on your target for 3.5 seconds. Now, if you're able to damage that target again with the mark, with a spell damage, it'll actually activate the mark, do additional damage, and silence your target. So here you go, you're going to see the mark. There's that yellow little orb above the head right there. I'm not going to show you the activation yet, because that's where the next skill comes in. Distortion. It is a teleport spell. It's an AoE damage spell. It does a little bit of everything. It'll teleport you to a location. If there are enemies there, they will take damage. But probably the coolest thing that it does is if you actually click the spell again after you've teleported, it'll actually teleport you back to where you started. That little mark on the ground right there, instantly back right there. It's a really nice little trick to use, especially if you get into a sticky situation. Now the cool thing is, this is also useful early game when you don't have your ult to activate your sigil, because it has to be done with a spell. So if you place sigil on a target and you've got distortion off cooldown, you just use that because you don't really have to aim it, and it'll activate that silence and do another big round of damage to him. So I'm going to show you that right here. There's the sigil and there's the distortion. Pretty nice little combo. Third up, you've got Ethereal Chains. Now this is a bind ability, not really like Lux's or Morgana's or anything like that, but it is a skill shot. It'll do initial magic damage, and it'll slow your target's movement speed by 25%. Now, it'll also put chains in the target, and if they stay shackled for 2 seconds, they'll actually take additional damage and they'll actually get stunned as well. So you're going to see that right here. I'm going to shoot the chains into this big guy here. He's going to take a little bit of initial damage, and then as long as he stays in my range, like he is right here, you're going to see it come down, do more damage, and stun him. And I'm actually going to go ahead and finish off these guys here so we can move on to something cooler. There's another distortion, and another chains. Now her ult. I love LeBlanc's ult. I absolutely love it. It's called Mimic. It's on a really short cooldown, 27 seconds and change on its first rank. It allows you to recast the last spell that you used, and it's a more powerful version of the spell. It does 20, 35, or 50% additional damage based on the rank, and you don't have to wait for the cooldown of the initial spell. Now, people are going to tell you to use this with different spells based on the situation and whatnot. I'm going to go ahead and tell you to not worry about that. Might seem strange, but with the experience that I've had, you need to save this to maximize your damage with Sigil. So you need to use it with Sigil. And it will also allow you to activate the silence and disable, especially enemy casters, really quickly. So I'm going to run up in just a second to another group of creeps, and we'll show you a little rotation. Start off with Distortion, closes the gap between the two people. And we're going to Sigil, and then we're going to ult, and then we're going to pull back with Distortion into some chains. Now what this does is, even though the guy actually didn't live through my ult, that will activate your silence really quickly and give you a nice little advantage. Now for summoner spells, I've got Ghost and Exhaust. Not what Riot recommends, probably not what a lot of people would use, but honestly, you've got a built-in flash with Distortion, so I think Ghost and Exhaust work really well with closing the gap between you and your enemy, and with keeping them around so chains will hit. Now if you caught that combo was actually the exact same I used on the creeps, except I'm waiting till right now to chains, because you don't want to use that around a lot of minions, or else it's just guaranteed to miss. Up here really quick, we've got, I'm going to show you her passive, which is pretty cool. It's called Mirror Image. Whenever you drop below 40% health, you're going to spawn a clone. It doesn't really do anything, but it does sit there, and it just kind of takes damage for you, and it auto attacks. So it's a nice little kind of way to get away from a situation, a little distraction. Okay, last but not least, we've got items. Amplifying Tome is your best friend for level 1, no matter what. Especially, I don't know if you'll notice down there on the left-hand corner, I actually have a full ability power rune page, so with Amplifying Tone, I start out at 55 ability power level 1. It's very important. Next up, you've got a Meiji Soul Stealer. You want to get that if you're performing pretty well. You want to build that up. For boots, you kind of have two different choices here. You can either go with sorcerers or swiftness. Swiftness is good if you're fighting the faster champions like Yi or Poppy or Teemo. Sorcerers is more if you're against tanks with higher magic resistance. Now, kind of another good go-to item, especially if you're not going to do a Soul Stealer, is Deathfire Grasp. It gives you cooldown reduction, mana regen, and it adds to your single target DPS with that 30% nuke. That's the active on that or whatever it is, but it's really, really nice. Now, as far as more defensive items, you've got Haunting Guise. That's also good against tanks because of the Magic Pin, Void Staff, Magic Pin. Zanya's Ring, you really want to go with if you've got a good Soul Stealer going, and it'll really help you kind of build that up. But otherwise, kind of just follow your heart. Ability power is your best friend, and this girl will be owning for you in no time. Alright, well that's just about all I've got for today. Please comment, watch, subscribe, all that good stuff. We're going to try to do one of these movies every single week with a new champion or an old one. So definitely keep watching to see what's next. Thanks a lot, guys.